Check, test, 1, 2. Looks like everything should be working. It is 7 o'clock. Okay, yeah, it sounds like everything's working good. Good evening, everybody. It should be working. It is 7 o'clock. Okay, yeah, it sounds like everything's working good. Alrighty, I'll get rid of the echo there. Hi, how's everybody doing? It's Tuesday night, and so glad to have you all here. We had a nice pre-chat with Gary and Ben. Tim checking in, as well as Gary and Ian. Gary and Ian are both down in Arizona. So yeah, hot here today. I ended up working outside on the truck camper today, most of the day. Well, at least until 3:30. And thank goodness I have good shade. I have this, abomination of tarps strung up to provide me some shade, and I'll share some of that with you here in a minute. I got some good questions this week from email, which is a reminder, if you're shy and you don't want to chat over in the chat window, or you're not comfortable with that, you can always send an email to trbolin@gmail.com. And I'm happy to answer your questions. It might take me a day to get back to you, but I'm usually Johnny on the spot, usually the next morning. I generally process emails and do kind of social things in the mornings. So you can expect to hear from me usually the next morning if you email me. Unless you're Ian, and it was the weekend and I was out fishing all weekend. And the fishing sucked. They're running lots of wire and running lots of water, I should say. I've been running wire. And so the river's real high and it was hot. And it just wasn't a good weekend for fishing. But we had fun anyway. Okay, so I saw some questions roll in. Let's run through the chat window here real quick and see who all's checked in since I last looked. Chris is in from CNS Schoolie Project. He had a pretty interesting video out this weekend fixing his air compressor on his 466 Detroit. Kevin Toohill. Hi, Kevin. I saw your question. I had just a moment. I was out, getting some water and depositing some water before the stream. And I only had a second to look, but I could not find an owner's manual for that 4100 transfer switch that you're talking about there. And I'll go through the rest of the chat, see who all's here, and then we'll go back to talking about your question in just a minute. And then I have a question from Ian, and then I've got something to share from Gary, and I'll have an update on the truck camper. I did a quick walk around this afternoon. Okay, so Vincent RV Life's in. Hi, Bruce. How are you tonight? And Robert Covington's checking in from Tennessee. George is in. George, aka Dad. Tom's in from Whidbey Island. And let's see, Jeff Rippon, they're checking in from Denver. Eric is still in Missouri. And Robert Connell, I got a question there, and I'll get to that one in just a minute. Okay, so Kevin, let's chat about your problem here. I see you're having trouble with your Southwire ATS, automatic transfer switch. Search Guard model 4100 transfer switch. Is it possible to manually set the relay so I can get power from shore power until I receive a new one? And like I said, I kind of hurried up and went out to look at look for an owner's manual, and I went to Southwire's website. I didn't see it. I probably not. And when it comes to this kind of stuff, and not knowing your skill level, not saying that you do or don't have the skills, I would recommend that you probably, you could bypass it. Well, I'm trying to think about how to do this correctly. I think that it's tricky with the transfer switch, and especially if they're a bit misbehaving. And I just don't think there's any way to manually switch that over. And I can't think of a safe way to tell you to bypass it, at least off the top of my head. Let me think about that for a minute while we go through the stream here a bit more, and maybe I can come up with something brilliant. But right now I'm kind of stumped on what might be best as a workaround for that transfer switch, Kevin. Let's see. There was some chat in there about the Blue Ridge Parkway, and I have a story about the Blue Ridge Parkway. In 2013, just 9 years ago, I did a project when I was contracting for a company, and I actually stayed in Rusty, my 2004 Dutch Star, on the Blue Ridge Parkway for, well, a total of 5 months, but in 2 different sessions. I was there from, I think the second week of January until, I want to say, the first part of April, maybe a little later into April. And I was up on the Blue Ridge Parkway. I was actually at a music festival site working. So, but it was really nice because, of course, they had power for me. I had DSL in the administration building, I was parked near it. I had a bathroom and shower and all that in the administration building. Oh, and a laundry. So it was a really nice stay up there. I did end up in a ice storm, and actually literally got frozen into my RV with about a half an inch ice all around the outside of it. And anyway, was out of power for 3 weeks, or three days, excuse me. And so I ended up running the generator continuously for 3 days. And I was perfectly comfortable. It's a good thing I had groceries in the fridge, that's all I can say. Let's see, 68 and Whidbey. Yeah, Tom, rub it in. Pictures of the burnt wires. Tim, did you send me an email? Did I miss something here? I don't see. If you sent me an email with pictures of burnt wires, I don't think I got it. Sent last Tuesday. Yeah, from Tim S. Myers, Tim_S. Myers. Because I'm looking, last Tuesday would have been the 30th, right? And I'll just run back to last Tuesday. Just real quick here, and let's see. Wednesday. Was it Tuesday evening that you sent them, Tim? Because I sure don't see anything here. I got Jay's stuff. Okay, well, anyway, if it's convenient, resend them. Okay, Scott Mogich is in from Lindsay, Ontario, Canada, around 75 degrees. Now, that's perfect. I would take a few of those. In fact, next week this time we're supposed to be in the upper 70s, so some relief is on the way. But it's been a long, hot run, I'll tell you what. Two Feathers is here, checking in. Great to see you. Robert Cannell. Okay, he says... he asked a question earlier, and he says he retracted it, but he was asking the best way to seal the roof. But let's go read his new question here. Okay, roof is sagged. How would you support the roof so it curves up and rounds over to shed water? Well, that tells me there's something wrong with the structure inside of that, and you're going to ultimately have to fix that. I think for now, what I would do is I would probably take a 2x4 and a 1x4, and I would build a couple of T's out of it, okay? And what I would do is I would go inside the RV and I would carefully jam those in there and wedge them until they push that roof up and cause it to bow. But if it's sagging, there's something going on up there. You're probably going to have to get into that and try to repair it. Yeah, if it's sagging and holding water in the middle, that's not a good situation there, Robert. So that's the way I would do it. Is I would get, like a 2x4 and some 1x4s, and I would make 1x4, maybe 4 feet 4 feet long. The 2x4 you'll have to adjust so that you can kind of wedge it between the floor and the ceiling, but you want to get some lift out of it, so you're going to want it, a little longer. And I guess that would be a temporary fix. As far as long term, sorry, you're going to have to probably get into that roof. Excuse me, it's still really smoky here. Just a minute, folks. Three fires in the area now. Got a big, huge one. The Moss Fire, which is the largest one, was the largest one in the nation, might still be at over 100,000 acres. And there were 3 that sparked up around us here earlier today and yesterday. It's just that time of the year. It's hot, it's dry, and it's fire season. Unlike Australia, where our friends the Sand Van are checking in tonight, where it's winter. Actually, I guess kind of almost early spring. I guess it doesn't become spring till the 20th, right? Anyway, let's see here. Back to the chat. Okay, yes, Kevin, you could do that. You're going to need big wire nuts. Okay, so Kevin, we're talking about bypassing his automatic transfer switch. And you're probably going to have pretty good sized wires, probably number 6, maybe number 8. How big is your service? I'm assuming it's a 50. So if it's 50 amp service, you're probably going to have number 6 wire coming in the cable, maybe number 8. And then you'll probably have number 6 or number 8 going from the transfer switch up to your breaker panel. So you're going to want to get some big wire nuts. They're going to be large enough to handle probably 2 number 8 wires. And yeah, you'll probably have to take your shore power cable loose so that you got enough room to get over there and splice them together. But yeah, that's a safe workaround, and if you're comfortable doing that, just make damn sure you got all the power turned off, the plugs unplugged, the inverters turned off, the generator automatic start's not turned on. Just make sure you're completely safe. But that would work, Kevin, yes. And don't forget the ground. And yeah, as Tim mentioned there at the bottom, a good rapid tape would be a good idea too. But yeah, don't forget your grounds. You're welcome, Robert, from Valdosta, Georgia. Excellent. Raining down there. It's raining in the east and hot and dry and burning up in the west. Food Porn Chef, long time. So nice to have you in from Houston, Texas. What are you doing in Texas? I spent a week there one night. Actually, I spent a lot of time in Houston. Thanks, Tim. I'll look for it. Hey, Randy, it's so nice to have you in. I was thinking today, I ought to send some pictures of your house. As everybody knows that Randy is a regular around here, and gosh, he's been a regular on the channel for a long time. But anyway, he's building a house out in Iowa, and you ought to send some pictures, Randy, so we can see your house. That would be cool. I'd like to see it too. You're welcome, Kevin. I am happy to help. Ian, did you drop out? Ian had a question about his propane. Let's see if I can run over there and find it. I think it was, where did I put it? I probably didn't get it on there. I was rushing at the end to get stuff working. Okay, so let's do this. We're going to go over here and let's take a quick look at Gary D's setup. Let me pop this over here so I can see what's going on. Make sure you can hear me. Okay, so this is Gary D's setup. Let me turn this off. There we go. We don't need to see my ugly mug. But anyway, his really nice setup, North Trail travel trailer in his Dodge Ram. I think it's a 2008. He was asking a question about it last week. There's an excellent picture there out in Arizona. That's a nice ride. That is a real nice, that's a beautiful setup, Gary. Yeah, I like the looks of that. I really like that old style Dodge truck like that. Half ton or 3/4 ton. And then, of course, he had to show off his solar go-kart. His solar homemade go-kart, or golf cart. So cool. Thanks for sending the pictures in, Gary. If you guys if you want to share pictures of your rig, go ahead and just email them to me, trbolin@gmail.com, and I'll share them on the next live stream. Always happy to share pictures. Love seeing other folks' rigs. Let's see. Okay, I had a deal from Ian Fox down in Arizona. Sorry. And let me go dig that up. I had it, but I think, let's see here. I got crammed right at the end. I got busy eating dinner, and I was kind of running late tonight anyway. Okay, so Ian has an issue with his propane tank, and the issue that he was having here is, if you look down here, this is really tightly kinked. Okay, I have another picture here that I can share. Okay, Ian, what it looks to me like is that I can see an extra hole right here, and it looks like this mount here has been moved or torn loose or something. There's something going on there. And so my suggestion would be, let me bring this other picture up, is to take this regulator here, move it back towards this cross brace here as best you can, and then turn your propane tank a little bit clockwise, and that should take the kink out of that. So I would just take the screws loose that's holding that regulator in. And that looks like it might be hard piped. I'm trying to tell. I can't really tell if this is if this is hard piped or if that's a flexible line. But yeah, you should be able to slide that over a little bit. Damn. And get that kink out of that line. It's not going to hurt anything, but what it's going to do is it's going to cause the line to deteriorate. I can almost see what looks like it might be a crack right there in that line. That wouldn't be good. Now, your rig's under warranty. It's brand new, isn't it? So I would think that maybe you ought to contact your dealer. It escapes me. You sent photos of your rig, and I forgot what it is. But yeah, I think you should be able to straighten that up, Ian, and get the kink out of that. But if that hose is cracked, you're going to want to replace that hose. All right, let's see. I think I'm ready to go to this now. Let me check the chat window. Okay, it looks like we've got quite a bit of chat. So, hang on here. Okay, Ian, good. Alrighty, let's see. Randy, okay. You're welcome. All right, Randy. I'll put some together in email. Thanks. That'd be great. Thanks, Gare. Yeah, you're welcome, buddy. Sorry. Two Feathers says, nice deer guard. Wish she had one. It's TR Bowlin, BOWLIN. Like let's go, leave off the G. Let's go bowling, let's leave off the G. trbowlin@gmail.com. Thanks to Two Feathers. Yeah, appreciate that. Food Porn Chef says he is, he's from this area and visiting family and getting things needed to be done yearly with the truck, and then we'll work my way somewhere cooler and sunny. Not sure yet. Totally gotcha. Yeah, well, I'm probably going to be in Arizona in January and February. It'd be great to cross paths with you. I probably will try to have some sort of a meetup in Phoenix and probably Tucson, because I will be spending time in Tucson. Eric, I don't know if, Ian, I don't know if you know Tucson, but if you go west on the Ajo Highway, about 6 miles, you come out to Snyder Hill. And it's a pretty popular dry camping, dispersed camping spot right there and right on the outskirts of Tucson. Well, Drexel Heights. I'll be parked there for probably a week. And then I'll be out in Ironwood National Monument for at least a week. Probably out on the well, on the opposite side of the interstate. What's that called? Santa Cruz Flats. And I'll probably make it over to Biodome. Last time I went to Biodome, it was closed, so I didn't get to see anything other than the parking lot. So that'll be winter for me. Ian says, yeah, 22, yeah, under warranty. The only drag of that is Ian, is you have to haul it over to your dealer to get that repaired. But I would do that. That's not right. That should be set up better than what it is. The thing I worry about, if that's a hard line on that, you want to be careful that you don't kink it when you try to move that regulator. But yeah, that's a really easy fix. Ian, I wouldn't sweat that too much. Food Porn Chef asks, do I have a video or information on where to get the seals for the refrigerator to close tightly? What model is your fridge? And yes, I do have a website where I could send you for that. But what's the model of your fridge? What's the make and model of your fridge? Because I don't know. I think they have Dometic. That may be it. Anyway, yeah. What's your what model of fridge do you have there? Okay, cool. Okay. Food Porn Chef. That would be cool if we could catch up. All right. As always, if you have an RV related question or any question, go ahead and throw it over there in the chat window. Happy to answer your questions. And as I've said before, if you're shy, go ahead and email me. trbowlin@gmail.com, and I'll be happy to try to share it with you if at all possible. Tom Downey says, typical Lippert install messed up from day one. I guess, I don't know. A lot of companies are having a real hard time finding really good qualified people to work for them, and things are shortcuts are being taken, mistakes are being made. Okay, so on the Whitner 97 quart, I probably am not going to be able to help you. On the Dometic 7 cubic foot, that is the 26, is that a 26 series, 2611, 2612? I think you can get those gaskets from let's see, where did I see those? You can find them on eBay, of course. You can find everything on eBay. PDX RV Wholesale has sold out. So you need to know the actual model number to make sure you get the right gasket. I'm guessing it's a 2611 or a 2612. Food Porn Chef. But yeah, Young Farts RV Parts Express. And what I would do is, with your model number, I would just Google Dometic, put your model number, and put door gaskets or gasket kit, and yeah, that'll get you there to finding those gaskets. Shop around, because some places, you know, they'll be $150, in another place they'll be 65. So happy to help. That's what we're here for. Okay, so I'm going to take a little pause here, and we'll share sort of the progress I've made on the truck camper real quick. Just a rough recording. But the exterior frame and the roof is completely done. I've got tarping, you know, hung on on three sides. The electrical is complete. I mean, there's a few minor things left to do with the electrical. Few touch-up paint spots here and there. All the light fixtures are in. I put in a really cool membrane switch. So I have a 6-position switch I put in. I've got an LED strip. There was no light in the bathroom. The light was in the fan. And I just haven't cut the fan hole out yet in the bathroom. I'll give you a little peek at the electrical here in just a second. That was a real quick peek. Here, just a minute. There's something not right here. Hold on. I know what I need to do. Just 1 second here. We'll do an on-the-fly adjustment here for you. That's more like it. Maybe not quite that much. There we go. There we go. Alright, sorry about that. We'll try that again. Now you can see the whole thing. So like I said, all the exterior frame's done. I've replaced like 70% of the walls. I've got it, the first coat of paint on everything. All the light switches, all the light fixtures, wires pulled for fans. Closet lights are all hooked up, set up, ready to go. I put LED strip light in the bathroom. Before, the light was in the fan, and I just don't have it cut out. It sits right in front of that tan strip you see there that I'm using to splice on the panel splices. Some of the rear electrical, I've got some LED light bars I'm going to be installing. I pulled some power for a backup camera. Here's the controls for that membrane switch. We'll stop here for just a minute. So right over here on the right side, you'll see the 6 labels there. That's a membrane switch. And what that is that's giving me the option to run 6 different switches from one small switch up inside the cab. And so I've got the rear porch lights and the exterior lights and the bathroom and so on and so forth on this. And then that's just a typical fuse block. I added quite a bit of lighting to it, and because I did add quite a bit of lighting to it, I needed to add some additional fuse positions. Not so much, I mean, everything's LED, right? So it's not per amperage, but it was just for convenience of not having to home run the wires all the way back to the main electrical compartment, which I'll start this up again and you'll get to see here in just a minute. So basically right there, I'll back up just a touch, oops. touchy. Okay, so that's the old inverter that you see there, that shiny box. And then you can kind of see the wires. I've actually got the switch or the breaker panel and the 12-volt fuse block taken out. It's sitting inside because I've been, working with it. There's an additional service point for electric up in the bed. There's a cabinet up in there. Come back up here and show you here. So if you see over here, there's a panel light sitting there on the right side of this, the end wall here. Some switches. That round black thing that sits above those switches is a USB charging port. Then there's 110 power there. I did finally get my white GFCI, so I can replace that tan one that's sitting there. So that's kind of the tour. I did have a question come in from Sharon Pasternak, and she wanted to know how I had my tarps set up, and so I shot. At the end, on the end of the garage there, at the peak of the garage, so I could get up in the air further than the peak of the garage. So the bungees have worked great as far as keeping the tarps stretched out, but they tend to sag when the humidity comes up. I think the ropes and stuff are probably sucking up moisture from the air and sagging out a little bit. So it's half past. This is usually where I try to remind folks to give me that thumbs up if you haven't already. I really appreciate that. If you're not subscribed, you should subscribe. Ring the notification bell. I got tons of videos still to come on the truck camper series. I'll be doing the live chat for at least the next, I might take off November because it gets kind of slow, but we'll see. But I'll be here for September and October for sure. I'm thinking at least one night in October we'll be live chatting from the field. I'll be out camping in the truck camper at that point. So that should be fun. Check out my website, trboland.com. Follow me on social media. All the links are in the description. And of course, your support of my Amazon store, the Renogy and RecPro links, has been just amazing, and I certainly appreciate it more than you could know. As an affiliate, of course, I get a small commission, but you pay the same price. So all of those channels for the support, I really appreciate it. So thanks a lot. Thank you, Randy. Thank you, Two Feathers. Bubbles is coming right along. Yeah, she was in the original Bubbles camp. It might end up being Bubbles. We'll see. But yeah, it's hard to say. I might warm up to that some more. My RV, I called it Rusty because it was rusty as heck, although the undercarriage was when I first got it. So I spent a lot of time cleaning it up. So anyway, if we don't have any more questions coming in, this is going to be an awful short stream tonight, which probably won't hurt. I'm kind of tired and my hand's kind of hurting. I think it's arthritis. My arthritis. What was Fred Sanford used to say? My arthritis. No, I think I'm working hard. I'm working too hard. Round Town Scouters checking in. Hello from Cass City, Michigan. After the move, we went back to Columbus to pick up the car and on to visit family. Next week, Edinburgh, Pennsylvania. Excellent. Good to hear from you, Round Town Scouter. All right, last call. We'll keep this one short then tonight if we don't get any more questions, comments. Alrighty. Well, 7:36. We're going to call this one good for tonight. I wish I had much more content prepared, but I was just too busy working on camper today, and I didn't get knocked off early enough. I forgot it was Tuesday, actually, with the holiday yesterday. It kind of goofed me up. So we will see you guys next Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Mountain Time, where you can ask any RV-related question. We can just chat. You can share your RV's pictures. Let's see. Tim was going to send a picture of some burnt wires. Let's see if that actually showed up. Okay, we got a question in from Craig Benoit. Oh, Craig. Okay, yeah, Craig. You've been on the stream before. Okay, so we can answer this one. We'll take 1 minute here. This is George, aka Dad, I think, is actually who this is. And I don't have your email, Tim. Just a minute. Did you actually maybe send it over here? No. Yeah. Let's see here. No, not in the spam. All right. Well, let's look at Craig's question here real quick, George. Let's look over here to this setup. This setup. Come on. Well, what's going on here? All right, he says, I'm adding 12-volt charger on the Toad. The charger is from the RVI. I have the charger installed on the Toad and working on getting constant 12-volt power to the plug on the RV. There are two red wires dead-headed at the back of the plug. Neither one is currently live. Two options for wiring, constant. Use the existing red. I've checked the wiring schematics and do not see these identified. They might have been added when the hitch and plug were installed, a hidden hitch. Has anyone encountered this, and do you know what they are for or where they originate? Okay, well, one of them is probably a power wire, and one of them is probably, let's see, I better make sure you guys can hear me. Sorry, I got to get back over into here so I can monitor the stream. Okay, we're good. So one of them is probably a power wire, and the other is probably for the electric brakes. All right. Why they would both be red, that's weird. It would pay to trace them down just to figure out. And then he says, running a wire from one of the relays that are on the bulkhead to the right side of the engine, there are two of them. These are constantly hot, 12 volts. What size wire would you recommend, and what size inline fuse? This would make 12-volt power at the plug always on, similar to newer pickups. All right, so how far are you running the wire? Okay. You want to look at something called ampacity. And I'm going to come over here real quick. I use this all the time. This is my favorite one. This right here. Okay, let me zoom up here on this a little bit for you. And what an ampacity chart is it tells you how many amps you can carry on what size wire over what distance. Okay, this is what's important. The other thing you're going to need to know is, let me come back here on camera for just a second. Is how many amps of excess current you have at your alternator. Okay, I have an excellent article on my website over at trbolin.com called Alternator Charging Your RV's Batteries. And go read that, because it has all of the instructions in it for what I'm about to tell you. But you need to figure out how many amps of excess power you have on your vehicle. That's with all the lights on, the fan running, the stereo on full blast, any other electrical loads. If you got TVs in the back of the seat heads and stuff like that, you want to turn on all your electrical loads, and then you'll measure how many amps you have excess at your alternator based on the size of the alternator. All right. We're going to assume, for the sake of argument, you've got 40 amps. So we're going to say you're going to send 40 amps from your alternator to the trailer hitch connection point. All right. We'll also assume that you have a pickup, let's say an extra cab, and let's just go a round number of 20 feet. So let's say the wire from the alternator, by the time you get it back to the tailgate, let's go 20 feet, all right, just to be safe. So what we'll do is we'll come in onto this chart. Let me come back over here. All right, we'll come onto this chart. We're going to use the 3% voltage drop for this calculation. 20 feet is how long we're running. 40 amps is what we are sending. That shows it to be 6-gauge wire. All right, here's a bigger chart. Here's a bigger size here. 20 feet, 40 amps, 6-gauge wire. Okay, so if you have, for example, let's say it's only 30 amps. Okay, then you'll come over here and you can get by again with 6. You could probably get by with 8. Okay, to be honest with you, 6-gauge wire is expensive. 25 amps, you're around 6 again. That's a good amount of current and a long distance. 20 feet's a pretty good long wire. All right, so you probably want 6-gauge wire. That would cover, most everything if you don't have the opportunity to figure out how many excess amps you have available at the alternator. But yeah, go read that article. It'll walk you through everything. So yeah, 6-gauge wire looks like what you're going to want to use. Now, if you don't have a lot of amperage available from your alternator, say you only have 20 amps, well, that's fine. Size your wire appropriately. Okay. It's that length that's getting us on this, though. It's the 20 feet length and the high amperage. Now, the next thing you want to think about is what's the wire running from the plug on the trailer back to your batteries light, or if there is one. If not, put a 6 amp in, or put a 6 gauge in again. Get your distance out, and because technically, I'm kind of cheating here, but technically the distance really is all the way from your alternator on the vehicle to where it connects to the battery pack in the RV. And that could be 35 or 40 feet, maybe 25. All right, but 6-gauge wire is going to be more than enough. We really don't even need to consider it as a critical load. Remember how I said that we were assuming a 3% voltage drop? That really isn't a critical load. The difference between those two, between a critical load and a non-critical load, is a critical load will be something like a light or an appliance or something like that. Okay? All right. Let's see. What size inline fuse? Same thing. If you're going to be sending 40 amps, you want a 40 amp fuse. You would probably want to put the fuse up in the engine compartment. Here's the way I would do it. I would get my cable from my alternator, go to the engine compartment somewhere in there where it's convenient. I would mount an ANL fuse of an appropriate size, however big you need one. Okay, so 25, 50 amps, whatever you're going to be sending from the alternator. and an appropriately sized fuse holder. That's why I say if you get an A&L, then you're really flexible, right? Because you could go from 25 to 500 amps on an A&L fuse holder. Available from my Amazon store. There's a link in the description of the video. Okay, also on newer pickup trucks, fuses for the tow harnesses are clearly identified and separate grouping in the fuse block. I don't see a similar setup on this Dutch Star. Do you know where these are? Yes. What year is your Dutch Star again, George? 04? In the electrical compartment on the passenger side, at least this is where mine is, the second compartment up. So you got your battery compartment, and then you've got your electrical compartment. Low on the wall. This is on my Freightliner chassis. Okay, you might have Spartan, I don't remember. Low on the wall, on the left-hand side, there are two fuse blocks, and the tow fuse blocks are separated. And they are the lower left ones. If you're looking in the compartment and you look down low, they're the low left ones. And I think it's the first one. Well, there's two there. But those are where your towed fuses and all that stuff is in that compartment on Freightliner. On Spartan, I'm not sure. Tom, where's your fuse block for your tow, for your signaling your tow signaling and stuff? All right, we gonna cycle back here and catch up on the comments. There's the long story behind the George. Gotcha. Good night, Randy. Thanks, Tom. We are sad this week. Yeah, I saw that aircraft went down with 10 folks. That sucks. Not our aircraft, belonged to Seaplanes from Renton. Yeah, gotcha. Ian Fox says, about no play in that regulator from the propane line coming from the bottom. I think my only option is to either tighten the line more to have it pointing up, or replace the line that goes to the tank. Okay. Yeah, we're talking about Ian's propane line. Yeah, I don't know, Ian. I always tend to err on the side of caution, and you don't want to kink that pipe, because if it's hard pipe, and you don't want to kink that other one. So, yeah, I don't think it's a problem right now, to be honest with you. If you're going to go traveling, that's a different story. But yeah, the first option I would probably get it to the dealer and have them fix it under the warranty. That way you're covered if if something goes wrong. Anyway, that's going to be my take on it. Two Feathers says she turned her TV off 2 years ago. Yeah, I don't watch local TV at all. I stream Prime and stuff like that. I don't watch local TV. On the dash under the hood, in his installation, I use a usable link direct to the battery. Fusible link. Yeah, gotcha. So George, Tom has a recommendation on where to get your hot wire from, and that would be using a fusible link and directly connected to the battery. That's not a bad idea, and it's a whole lot shorter than running the cable all the way from the front. So that, I think, probably makes a lot of sense. Um, and the second thing is, now that I think about this, for your Toad, you're not going to need a lot of charge power. Okay. So I would probably, did you mention you had a charge controller? I think you did. Let me go back and just double check that. I was just thinking you can check this. Okay. The chargers from RVI. Okay, you do have a charge controller. All right. So I'm gonna change everything I said, George, on the current. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna go to your equipment from RVI. You should be able to look up how many amps it wants to be able to draw and match your wire and your fusing to that. So if it says it wants 20 amps, then match your fusing and your wire using the length to that. I got this chart from Blue Sea Systems. And if you Google, if you ampacity chart, Blue Sea, that one will come up. Alright, so I think I got myself out of trouble there. I always try to err on the side of caution when it comes to electrical stuff. And like anything that's life safety. So yeah, gonna change my story and go check with the device, find out how much amperage it wants, get your wire length approximately, it doesn't have to be exact, and feed it with that. Feed it, if it says 25 amps is what it wants, then send it 25 amps. That's a DC to DC charge controller is really what it is. Yeah, actually, Tom, he's running it to his Toad, and I took the two questions separately instead of how they weaved together, and so I was confused at first, but now I think I've got it squared away. So I don't know the specs on that charger. That's what you would want to look up, George. Blue Sea Systems. I think all you have to do is go ampacity chart Blue Sea. I'll flip over to that screen for you real quick here. Right up here, ampacity chart Blue Sea. And that will get you over to that chart, and then you can pick your wire from there. Yeah, we don't know, Tom. I'm assuming it's, well, if it's off his Dutch Star, it's a 7-pin, just like yours, and you know, it's a 7-pin. Okay, cool, George. All right. Good enough. We're going to run. Thanks, everybody, for being here. We'll see you next Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Mountain Time. Until we get together, then, peace. Good night. You're welcome, George.